Hey, Barry, you got that lightsaber on you?
Yeah, oh yeah.
That's right, Barry's got his lightsaber, and I am flying solo on this episode, but it's going to be a good one. This is session 53. Yes! That's right, welcome to the show. I'm happy to have you. My name is Chris Curran. This is the Podcast Engineering Show. And on this show, we talk about the audio engineering side of podcast production. We get really into the technical details. We talk shop about equipment, and software, and workflow. And each week, normally we bring you an interview guest, someone who's producing podcasts at a high level, or some expert from the industry. This week it's just going to be me. I actually have a background in music engineering, and I also produce podcasts these days for the likes of Forbes and Dun & Bradstreet and select business authors and companies. A lot of folks, a lot of big companies want their podcasts produced, and they're willing to pay. So that's actually why I started the show, because I started the Podcast Engineering School. And the first batch of the school is actually taking place right now. We're right in the middle of it. I'm going to give you an update on that as we get going. Of course, Barry's here with me.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Everybody loves Barry. I think, it's funny. People email me and they're like, at the bottom of the email, they're like, yeah, oh yeah, Barry. It's just awesome. So today is just going to be a lighthearted episode. I have some updates. I have some interesting things that happened to me over the last few weeks, and I have an interesting thing that's happening to me tomorrow morning at about 4 a.m. I'm going to be taking a Uber, probably, to the airport to go to Lexington for the podcasting course. So by the time you hear this, I'll be in Lexington. All right, but first I want to give some appreciation to all the previous guests who were on this show. I mean, the last few episodes were really, really good. And we've had so many great episodes. In fact, they've all been good, at least good. Some have been great. Some have been just off the charts. And I really want to share my appreciation for the guests who come on the show. Just go to the website. It's podcastengineeringschool.com. There's 52 other episodes. A couple of them are me solo, but most of them are with guests. And just, if you haven't listened to all of them, just browse through them and you'll see, all kinds of different people with all kinds of different setups, and we really go deep into their equipment. So, this show wouldn't be possible without my guests. So I really want to share my appreciation to all the guests, not any particular ones. Recently, I actually spoke to Dave Jackson about his school of podcasting, and it's interesting. His school of podcasting and my podcast engineering school are so very different that we can actually kind of cross-promote and help promote each other. So I'm actually helping Dave promote his school now, because he takes people at the very beginning, people who want to start podcasting, and maybe they don't want to spend a lot of money. They kind of want to do it all themselves. And Dave has been doing podcasting since 2005. Hello. So there's probably like 14 guys on the planet have been doing it longer, only 14. But yeah, so he has all kinds of different courses for getting started with podcasting, and even like tutorials on software. I know he has one that's pretty popular now, where it's like a little tutorial on Hindenburg Journalist Pro, which is pretty cool. Also, I met Matthew Passy at Podfest, and he's like, yeah, you should sign up for our email. It's called Pod to Pod. And I was like, all right. And I'm getting this email every week. Man, I don't know where these guys find all these articles about podcasting. It's a really cool email that you can receive every week. Just different news, different articles. I mean, there's so much going on in the world of podcasting that, you could search the internet for hours every day, but they do a good job of putting it into one email. So it's called Pod to Pod. Just search for it online. So what kind of music you've been listening to lately? I actually broke out this album. It's called Dopes to Infinity. It's by the band Monster Magnet, and it's actually a record that I worked on back in 90, 94 or 95. Might have been late 94. I think it came out in 95, but I don't know if you've ever heard it. Monster Magnet, Dopes to Infinity. Really, it's a heavy album, but it's also like kind of trippy and really there's a lot of depth to it and good songs and catchy hooks and all that. It's a pretty cool album. Also, I stumbled upon Fiona Apple, her album from, I believe it's 2005 called Extraordinary Machine, which I had never heard. And so I started listening to that and, she's an artist, Well, I mean, there's a lot of artists out there, but she's not trying to write the hit song. She's just at a piano, just, juggling words around. And it's pretty cool the way some of the words she uses. And anyway, and then there's another album called Plans by this band, Death Cab for Cutie, which I didn't know anything, but they have one song and it's on this album. It's called Plans. And then I started listening to the whole album. It's pretty good. Very well produced. It sounds good, which is always helpful, right? When you listen to an album that actually sounds good, it's well presented and well mixed and everything. That makes it better. And I also was listening to Van Halen OU812. That one came out many moons ago, back when I think I was in high school, late 80s. And of course, listening to some Mozart on Pandora. And I found this podcast, someone mentioned it. I think it was Daniel J. Lewis mentioned, or he reposted something. I can't remember how I found out, but it's a new podcast called Rabbits. Apparently it's not that new. It's probably been a couple months. They release episodes every 2 weeks, and it's totally, the serial, storytelling kind of thing. And it's pretty good. It's interesting. So, I don't know if you've heard it, but, sometimes the way these people narrate their podcast is, I don't know if you ever noticed, but like all these NPR people, they just talk normal voice. They just talk like this, and they don't really bring much energy, and they just going to tell the story, and that's going to be what they're going to do on the podcast. And sometimes they even just sound, it's almost like they're putting you to sleep, but I don't know, maybe that's obviously part of what they're doing. I don't know, maybe they're like mesmerizing people, but a lot of times it's not even like neutral energy. It's like lower energy, like it's less energy than you just, I don't know. So I kind of felt that a few times when I was listening to Rabbits. The other thing is, wow, are they monetizing that show with ads? My goodness. They just kind of break into ads and commercial reads, and they do it like at the beginning, middle, and end, and it's a lot of ads. I understand that these popular podcasts, they're getting a lot of downloads, so pretty much the only way to monetize shows like that are through advertising, right? They're not running a business, they're not selling a product. Like me, like I'm doing this show, but I started my school, so I'm selling a program. So I do this show, and of course I promote my program when it's starting and stuff. And the next one's probably not going to be till the fall, probably September. But these bigger shows, they're just looking for download numbers to sell to advertisers, to play ads. And it's like, I get it. It makes sense. Radio's been doing it forever, but I don't know. Something about, it's almost like they're overdoing it. I don't know. Serial had sponsors, but it was like only one or two, and I don't know. They didn't kill you with sponsors, but this show Rabbits, it's a little, and it's maybe it's not completely overdone, but I don't know. That's just my reaction to it. I actually reached out to a couple people from that show to see if they wanted to come on this show and talk about the audio production, but I didn't hear back. I think they're still producing the show every week, so I think they're probably very, very busy. Speaking of guests for this show, I would appreciate your help. If you know anybody who produces podcasts or is into audio engineering or has some deeper knowledge about producing podcasts and all that in terms of audio, please send me an email, introduce them to me, tag me on social media. I don't know. Just if you know somebody, just introduce them to me, and maybe I could interview them on the show. I do the booking for this show myself, and it's not easy. I mean, anyone who does booking for a podcast will tell you it's not easy. That's why people like Jessica Rhodes are in business. That's all they do is book people for other people. So I don't, one of the type of person that is not a good fit for this show is the person who has a USB microphone, records right into their computer, does no post-production, and just uploads it. Like there's a lot of people who produce shows like that. And it's good. It's great. But on this show, I want to go deeper into the audio aspects and processing and, the more technical aspects. So I even know a lot of people in the podcasting industry who are great people. I'd love to have them on the show, but just to talk to them as people. But on this show, it's really more about the tech and going deep. Of course, this episode is not. This episode is just me yapping. I thought it would be good to take a little break from doing these like hardcore technical shows to do one a little bit lighter. I do have some actual topics that I'm like audio topics that I want to talk about, but I'm just kind of letting you know what's going on in my world. So if you do know anyone who would be a good guest on the show, please either tag me or send me an email, info@podcastengineeringschool.com, or just go to the website. The contact form is there. There's a million ways to get in touch with me. So tomorrow morning, I leave for Lexington. I've been kind of promoting it on this show since the beginning of the year. It's the podcasting course. It's a small conference, relatively small, for people in the medical education field. So people who want to start podcasts. And anyway, I'm going to be giving a couple of the keynotes. Actually, I think like 3 or 4 or 5. I don't know. I think I got thrown onto a lot of presentations. Anyway, I don't think they'll be disappointed if my slides aren't A+ wonderful. Anyway, so I'm going to Lexington tomorrow. I'm actually bringing a little bit of equipment, not much, because we're going to do little projects with the attendees. But one thing, I'm going to be giving a talk on the current trends of podcasting and also the future, what the future holds. And I was looking at the Edison Research PowerPoint that just came out. They just kind of finalized their research over the last few months, their 2016 research, so the research from last year. And they have all these slides about how many people listen to podcasts and how many people know what a podcast is. It's really awesome stuff. You can look it up. They've been giving webinars lately too. But the point is, the reason I brought it up here is podcasting is still growing. And so there's going to be more people podcasting. And as it grows more, there's going to be more businesses that want to do a podcast. It's like the classic analogy that I've heard since I got into podcasting in early 2012 is that podcasting is like blogging was 10 years ago. So, companies now know they need to be putting up content on the web. Like at least every week. It used to be every week was the norm. Now it's like every day. You're supposed to blog every day or twice a day. I mean, really? But anyway, podcasting's growing. There's businesses that are going to want shows. They're going to need to hire people. And there's going to need to be podcast engineers who know what the hell they're doing. And that's why I started the podcast engineering school. So I'm just excited about the upside of the podcasting industry. I know there's a lot of people excited about it. Look at Chris Kremitzos and Neil Giarte and all the guys who are producing the Messengers documentary, which is actually launching right now, or it did launch. Now you can get the DVD as well. We saw most of that documentary at Podfest a couple months ago. Can you believe it's been I think like next week it'll be 2 months since we were in Florida. That's nutty. Time just flies. Anyway, for this show, I've talked about it a million times that to record my guests, I used to use a service called Cast. And I liked it because it's much better than Skype in terms of the voice over IP quality and the fact that it kind of records each guest locally on their computer and sort of uploads it in the background. So at the end of the session, you get like a local copy of each guest's audio. and which means there's no glitching. It's just a clean copy, a local copy. It's almost like they were recording themselves into Audacity on their local computer. But of course, most podcast guests, they're not into audio. They don't have Audacity. They don't know anything. So services like Cast and Zencastr and Ringer, actually, these, you have a conversation, it records each person locally, and then you just download the files later. So you don't have to worry about internet glitching, right? We've talked about this a million times. And I liked Cast. I tried Zencastr first, actually. And this was a year and 3 months ago, okay? This was early 2016. I tried Zencastr. I talked to Josh, who is the founder and who runs it. He coded it. He's the guy. And nice guy. And we talked, and I tried the platform, and I liked it. But the problem is it did that Skype ducking thing. It's like the echo cancellation thing that Skype does. Zencastr used to do. And there's really nothing I can't stand more than that. Like that's like you're just taking the audio and just smearing it and smashing it and just ruining it. And no audio engineer is going to like that at all. Like literally not at all. So that's why I found Cast, and I started using Cast because they didn't do the audio ducking thing, right? And in a way, that was the only difference between them. So a couple weeks ago, I was doing some sessions, and Cast kept crashing. And it kept crashing, and the problem with Cast is if the session crashes, you literally have to just abandon the session, start a whole new session, invite everyone again, and of course, you're in the middle of a recording. And some people, you don't have their email handy. So how do you re-invite everyone? It's so that's really dumb. And I've talked to them a bunch of times over the last year and 3 months or so about a lot of things, and it seems they're more interested in creating this platform where people can record and edit and publish and do everything and create little social media bits and whatever. But, the problem is the recording technology they're building their platform on is not sound. There's problems. Things crash. Audio gets distorted or lost. So anyway, the Cast crashed a few times, and I approached them, and the customer service was absolutely terrible. And they actually told me, this is what they told me, we've gotten more tickets from you than almost everyone else combined, which is complete BS. It has to be. I mean, please. I know more people who've put in tickets to Cast than the amount of tickets I put in, okay? So that's BS. And the other thing is, he said, you know what? It seems like the platform's not really fulfilling your needs. So maybe, so I think I suggest we refund your money and you find something else and you go somewhere else. Can you imagine the customer service who said that? And I never want to be the guy who says, do you know who I am? Because I'm really not anybody. I'm really not. I'm just an average podcast producer. Maybe I have a little more audio background than most, but I'm not a zillionaire. I don't know everybody. I'm not special. I'm really not. But I mean, I have some big clients, and I'm hopefully going to get more big clients, and I'm starting a school, and okay, I mean, I'm in the industry, right? So you would think, there'd be more of a dialogue. So anyway, that really did not make me happy. So so I reached out to Josh again from Zencastr, and what I did was I just got a Zencastr account immediately, and I opened it up, and I literally I clicked on settings, and right in the settings, like the first thing I saw was you can turn off the echo cancellation. You can turn off that Skype ducking thing. Boom! Tremendous! Chris was very happy. And the other great thing about Zencastr is that they not only can record each guest locally in MP3 format, they can record each person locally in WAV format. The only downside to that is that after the session's over, after you hit stop, everyone literally has to wait sometimes 5-10 minutes, maybe sometimes even 15 minutes for all their audio to upload. And normally that's not a problem, but some guests, they're like, they finish the interview, they just want to slam their laptop shut and go do something else. And it sometimes it's hard telling them, look, can you keep it open? Can you make sure the computer doesn't fall asleep and, all that kind of nonsense. But anyway, and look, so now I'm using Zencastr, but here's the thing. Nothing's perfect, okay? None of these platforms are perfect yet. When I posted what happened to me online, so many people reached out and said, oh, we're having such problems with Cast. I know a few people right now who are having terrible problems with Cast. And, it's such a helpless feeling, when you're trying to record using a platform and it's just something's not right. And it's, it'd be one thing if it was me recording, like me and Ralph Rivera just hanging out chatting, but it's clients. It's big name clients. And you're telling me things are going to crash and people are going to get dropped and we're going to lose audio? That's ridiculous. So anyway, Zencastr has been treating me well so far, although I used it yesterday and there was a weird little problem with my host where for like 2 minutes of the episode, right in the middle somewhere, it started sounding like she was doubled. Like there was, I don't know if you've ever used like maybe a 40 or 50 millisecond delay on a voice. It just sounds like there's two of the same voices, but they're really close together, and it gives this weird effect. They call it a doubling effect. There's a lot of uses for it in music, actually. But anyway, for 2 minutes, it sounded like that, and I was thinking to myself, oh no, I hope it's only the VoIP signal and not the actual file that Zencastr's recording. Unfortunately, it was in the file that Zencastr's recording. So, again, nothing's perfect. And I had Sean Smith reach out to me, and he was telling me about Ringer. And I've heard good things about Ringer. The only problem with Ringer right now is that they can only record one-to-one interviews. So it can only be two people connected talking. And so if you have a podcast and it's just you and you have one guest, you could use Ringer. But if it's just you and you have two guests, you can't use it. And if you're like me, when I do sessions, I'm just the engineer. I connect with a host, and separately I connect with a guest or two. So I need like 3 or 4 or 5 connections. So, but apparently Ringer is developing it. They're going to have the ability to have 5 people on total. I'm looking forward to that. When that comes out, I am going to try that. I really am, because Ringer, the other good thing about Ringer, I think, is that you can use it from like a mobile phone. Like there's mobile apps that are people could just like hold their phone and talk, or maybe plug, or maybe just talk through their earbuds through their phone or something like that. So anyway, these services are really important, and I literally today I thought to myself, I'm seeing the limitations of all these platforms, and I'm like, I kind of have in my mind like what I would want to create just for the recording. Like, I don't need the editing and the publishing and the little social media bits and all that garbage. I would just like to create a platform that is rock solid with recording audio, and you might as well throw video in too, just because some people are going to want to do video. And boom. And, maybe that's what Blab used to do, although they didn't record the multi-track. They didn't record the audio in multi-track. But also, Corey Coates from Podfly, they're developing something which is similar. One of these like Zencastr or Ringer. They're developing their own. So we'll see what that's all about. I'm psyched to try all these and see what's up. But anyway, it's like an entrepreneurial moment earlier today when I was like, I should create this, but then I'm like, you know what? I have no money. I have no contacts. Like, it'll take forever. Someone else will do it. The whole thing. Like, you have good ideas, but there's literally no way you can actually act on it and do it. Which is okay. That's life. So there you go. So as far as Cast goes, beware. Seriously, beware. Unstable. Zencastr, much better. Maybe not perfect, but here's the other thing about all these platforms as well. And this is really, really, really important. This is probably the reason why 99% of the problems happen, where people drop off or there's trouble. And I've noticed this from producing podcasts for almost 5 years now, that for some reason in podcasting, no one takes the audio seriously, right? So someone will picture this, someone's working on their computer all day doing business, PowerPoint presentations, Skype calls. They got 14 programs open. And then it comes, let's say 4 o'clock rolls around and it's time to record their podcast. And they just literally open up another browser window and they don't like restart their computer and start fresh with a clean slate. They got like 97 processes going on their computer. Their Dropbox is syncing. I mean, it's crazy how we just don't think about it. And so as engineers, we have to tell people, look, it's best if you always restart your computer right before recording. And then only open the programs you need. And I'm telling you, if the host did this and each guest did this, just operated on a device that was just restarted and kind of fresh and like a clean slate, I'm telling you, probably 99% of these problems wouldn't happen. The other thing is Windows updates. Before you do sessions, restart your computer. And look, you may have to start this an hour early. You may have to, an hour before the session, you may have to restart the computer and run the Windows updates or whatever Apple does too. I don't know. I don't know how that works. But do all the updates, refresh, restart, and start from a clean slate. I think that is actually by far the number one thing that you can do to avoid problems with these types of platforms like Zencaster and Ringer. So quick update on Podcast Engineering School. We started the first batch. I'm calling it a batch. I don't know what to, I'm like, do I call it a course, a program? Is it the first batch? Is it the first semester? I don't know. If I do 2 a year, I could call them semesters, but anyway, I don't know what to call it, but we started the first batch of Podcast Engineering School. We've done 3 out of the 7 classes. It's going really, really well. I can tell because, well, everyone is giving me good feedback and everyone's kind of loving it. But the other thing is I'm presenting like the first 3 are like the first 2 was a lot of theory and fundamentals. The third one was like sort of theory and fundamentals, but then it gets into practical configurations and studio configurations and hardware configurations. And like I think each class, I think I completely overloaded all the students like with so much information. Like, because when I ask for questions, it's like, wow, I need to watch this one again because because I actually give them the recordings of each class because they do, look, we have a limited time together and I'm giving everything. Literally, I'm giving all my experience over 5 years in podcasting and as much of my music production experience as I can give. I can't give it all because there's so much more to music production that does not apply to podcasting. So, like delays. I mean, delays are like my favorite thing in production, but you don't use delays in podcasting. Well, unless you're doing an effect, all right? You have some voice and you want it to go, hello, 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 hello. Okay, maybe once you can use a delay, but, it's not like music. Most music has like many delays in each song. Like you don't really hear them because they're very subtle. They just add to the ambiance of it. So Podcast Engineering School, it's going great. The next batch is going to happen in the fall probably. I really like being on live with students. I kind of toyed with the idea of doing self-study courses, like a self-study course, like a big, huge self-study course that people can go through on their own. But there's something about the live feel that I like, and there's something about being able to ask questions, and also there's something about giving homework and saying, look, this is your homework, and then people, like, there's some, like, self-study courses are great in many ways, but I think live classes are great in many ways as well. And I'm still kind of figuring out exactly what I want to do for the next part of it. A lot of business people are telling me, well, if you're going to teach each class yourself, then you're really just creating a job for yourself. It's not really a business. And I get it. It's true. It's true. Because if I'm not there to teach, then I make no money. I get it. But I have a vision of what of the massive information that I want to teach people. And when people graduate from podcast engineering school, they're going to graduate, they're going to know so much, and they're going to know so many tips and tricks and be prepared, like beyond comprehension prepared for almost anything that happens. I mean, there's always something that happens that you've never seen before, but it's just the graduates are going to leave podcast engineering school with such an advantage over everyone else, and they'll be able to charge more money when they're producing shows, and it's just great. I mean, I don't know. So I'm having fun. I guess, I mean, I'm not going to really talk about go super in depth about the details of the course, because if you're interested, maybe you should take the course. I have people approaching me now who are interested in the course. It's great, it's great. There's something about audio, like learning how to be really comfortable and confident with audio. It just seems to permeate other things. I don't know. It's like you just hear things everywhere. It sounds stupid, but you can work your car stereo better or the EQ on your phone better. I don't know, just everything. There's so much that deals with audio. And when you know a lot about audio and what you're hearing, you have a leg up in so many ways. So the other thing is I became, I mentioned it a few episodes ago, that I became an expert member of Podcasters Society, which is a wonderful community of experts and podcasters focused on helping you improve all aspects of your podcast after it's launched. So here's the thing. Here's what people can do. And by the way, I'm affiliates for both Dave Jackson's School of Podcasting and also Daniel J. Lewis's Podcasters Society. I'm affiliates for both because I believe in them both. And it's, and again, as an affiliate, it's not like you're making millions and stuff like that. But so here's the thing. People can go to Dave Jackson's School of Podcasting, learn how to podcast, learn everything they need to launch their show. And then once they launch, they can go over to Podcaster Society and join that group because, as I mentioned last time, it's like a bajillion light years better than a Facebook group. That's the best way I can describe it. Like you're actually, you get to know people, and people in the community know a lot. Like the experts are there, sure, but just like these are people who have been doing this for a while, and they're learning, and they're contributing, and they're helping other people. It's really great. I really like it, and I'm proud to be a part of it. So I think that's it for today. This is just, I kind of wanted to tell you about the Zencaster and the cast thing, and give you a little update on Podcast Engineering School, and just talk about other updates. But normally I interview guests. We go through their workflow, their equipment, and you end up learning a lot just through osmosis, just through hearing it. And that's what I hear from most listeners tell me. Well, most listeners who contact me tell me that they just learn things that, like 9 weeks later, they'll remember something from an episode 9 weeks ago. And they're like, oh, now I get it. That makes sense. And it's just awesome, the level of learning that can happen just over time, just by being in the presence of these discussions of the audio engineering side of podcast engineering. You will learn a lot. So thank you for listening, and we're gonna leave you with a different song today. I don't know. I don't want to freak everybody out here. Barry, you're okay with a different song for today?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, come on. Barry's up for almost anything. So let's do it. We'll see you next week. I'm going to be going to Lexington in the morning. Best of luck with your podcast production. And as always, come on, say it with me, everybody. Ready? Sound great!
Oh, forget it.